Hey guys, it's Allie, and in today's video, I'm going to be reacting to your unpopular opinions about American Girl. I've made a few videos in the past talking about my unpopular opinions. A lot of my videos are opinion-based in general, but I want to hear what your guys' opinions are, so on Instagram, I asked you guys to send in your unpopular opinions, and I'm going to kind of react and commentate my thoughts on those opinions. I did see IrishSeaDollies do this video about a week ago, and that's what inspired me to do this because it's kind of a nice twist on the standard unpopular opinions video, but I believe she was inspired by someone else to do it, so I was not the original creator of this whole react to unpopular opinions idea. Just putting that out of the way, without further ado, let's get started. Please remember though that these are my opinions as well as people's opinions from Instagram, so if you do disagree, be polite about it in the comments. That's all. All of these are going to be anonymous, by the way. So the first one is Luciana's ugly, and I love how this is the first response somebody gave to this question poll, because if you've watched any of my videos, you would know I'm not the biggest Luciana fan. Now, I wouldn't call her ugly because obviously there are people who look like her and she looks like 66. I would call her meat outfit ugly. I don't like it. I feel like Galaxy is just one of those trends that's very, very dated and it did not age well, and I'm not a huge fan of her streak. I know it can be easily hidden, but natural hair dolls is just what I'm personally into, but I totally agree with that. The diversity is terrible, but is that really an unpopular opinion though? Like, everyone talks about it. I'm excited for the World by Us line. I've seen some leaks and the dolls look really cute, and I'm excited to have more diverse dolls, and I think the pieces seem to be a little bit more mature than what you would find in like the Truly Me line in terms of the style. But yeah, American Girl could do better on diversity. We've never had a main historical doll that's fully Asian. We've only had one Black Girl of the Year, and that doll was recycled, and there's just so many more races and cultures American Girl could dive into that they haven't done. Tenny is adorable. I agree. She isn't one of my favorite dolls. I don't own her, but I think everyone hates on her a little bit too much. She looks a lot like 24, which is one of the dolls I really wanted when I was younger, and I really like her wig. I've heard it's really good in person. Not the biggest fan of the tendril, but I can live with that. The one thing I'm not the biggest fan of is the lip color being a little bit different than the standard American Girl lips, and I know the hands bother some people, but at least from photos they don't bother me too much. She's not like my favorite, but I'm not opposed to getting Tenny, and I will defend her when people hate on her because she's honestly not that bad. I love Mary Grace. Like, that is not an unpopular opinion. Why are you saying that? I love her too. Dolls with short hair are very underrated. I do agree, but once again, is that unpopular? I do have a few dolls with shorter hair in my collection. I have Krissa, I have 62, and I don't have any with like the super short hair. Like, I believe Kit's hair is even shorter, but having dolls with, actually no, I have Melody. But even though you can't do as many hairstyles on dolls with short hair, I love the way that it frames their face and it makes them look super cute. Here we have an actual unpopular opinion. I don't like the Joss and Mary Grace face mold. Very interesting. So I wouldn't necessarily rank either of these molds as like my top molds, but I think the reason I say that is they're not as normalized as other AG molds. We've seen so many classic molds, so many Josefina molds that they look like American Girl doll molds. And even though molds like the Mary Grace mold have been around for a while, we really only see them on one doll and customs. The Joss mold is only seen on Joss as well. They don't feel as normalized as the other molds, kind of like when Anea came out and everyone was like, oh, she's a welly wisher. And they are a bit rounder too compared to molds like the classic and the Josefina. I personally am not opposed to either of these molds. I do own both of them, but yeah, very interesting to hear your opinion. This is a really cool one. I don't think I've seen this opinion before. This might be very unpopular, but I don't understand collecting dolls that aren't historical or Girl of the Year, as in collecting Truly Me. I get having Truly Me dolls, but not collecting. There are some people who want to own every single American Girl doll, or at least every doll in a line. So if you do want to own every single Girl of the Year doll, that makes sense. If you do want to own every single historical, that makes sense. But with the Truly Me's, there's just so many of them, including some that do look quite similar, that I don't think it's worth collecting the whole thing unless you want every single American Girl doll. For me, I just collect dolls based on appearance and the dolls I like the most. I would love to own every face mold one day. I'm just missing the Just Like You 4 mold as of right now, but I don't know if I'm gonna get it it because 4 isn't that high on my wish list. There's just so many Truly Me dolls, I don't think it would be worth it to collect them. Courtney is actually low-key overrated. I agree 100%. I think compared to other dolls American Girl has been releasing in recent years, such as Nanea and even Melody, Courtney got way more promotion, maybe because she is from a more modern time period, but she had the cringy music videos, she had her own series on AG's YouTube channel, and she is just kind of shoved in your face. And that's why I'm not the biggest Courtney person, because she was shoved in your face so much and everyone's hyping her up. I'm kind of sick of Courtney. Like, it's been, I don't think even a year, but I'm sick of Courtney. Not like, oh my god, that's so sick, 80s reference, but like, I'm sick of Courtney. So yeah, she's definitely overrated. She looks like Mary Ellen in the sense that like she's not the most unique doll visually. Like, if you look at the historical line as a whole, and then you're like, what two dolls look the most similar? You would probably say Courtney and Mary Ellen. So yeah, for what she is, I personally don't really get the hype. It's kind of weird that people complain so much about the Girl of the Year and still buy her. Okay, once again, I don't really think it's an unpopular opinion, but I will comment on it. I think the AG community, we have certain things that we really want from a Girl of the Year doll. Like, we've only had one Black Girl of the Year doll and it was recycled. We've never had a Muslim Girl of the Year. There's just so many races and cultures that American Girl could tackle that they haven't tackled before. So even though we do complain about the Girl of the Year, the doll they do release, even though it is a white classic mold, or I guess Josefina mold is more popular with the Girl of the Years, it might still be a cute doll, so they'll buy her anyways. I buy my dolls based on looks, not stories, so if I think a Girl of the Year is super cute visually and would be very unique in my collection, I will buy them. But yes, I do agree, the Girl of the Year line and the dolls need to be better and more diverse. I do not like Cecile. I am so sorry. I know a lot of people like her, but I do not like super curly doll hair. I'm not the biggest fan of the hair either, because as someone who loves to do braids and cool hairstyles on their dolls, having a doll with that hair texture, the best way to take care of it and keep it in perfect condition is to not touch the hair. I have a Gabriella doll who has the similar hair texture, and all I ever really do is just like clip a little bit out of the way. And even though it is a real hair texture, my mom has really curly hair like that too. It's just not the best if you like to style it, and if you want to make it look really neat without any flyaways, to go in and fix every single curl takes forever. I do still think though Cecile as a doll is super cute, and I do enjoy seeing photos of one who's in really good condition, but I don't really ever see myself owning Cecile anytime soon. There are not enough dolls with glasses. I agree 100%. We need more. Normalize wearing glasses. Melody is the best historical doll. I think visually she's one of my favorites. Her wig is super unique for historicals, and I'm not too familiar with her story. I know it takes place during the Civil Rights Movement, which is a very important time period in American history, but I do have to say Addie is my favorite. She's one of the few dolls whose books I've actually read, but I wanted to cry, and I just think it's so important to teach kids about the history and what happened during Addie's time period. And I know Melody's is similar. I don't want to talk too much about this issue because I don't want to get canceled because I don't read the books. I think Addie is my favorite in terms of overall, but Melody doll-wise, I really love. I've never seen this opinion before, but someone said they are not the biggest fan of AGSMs. I really do want to know why they said that. For me, the main thing I dislike about AGSMs is that because it's a stop motion and usually it's one person voicing every single character, I have to pay 100% attention to the stop motion to understand the plot and the characters and things like that. Compared to other videos like this one right now, if you are watching this video and you're like multitasking, like, oh, you're organizing your pens or you're cleaning your room, that's perfectly fine. I do that too while watching YouTube if it's like a video with minimal graphics and you can just listen to the voice. But with stop motions, I've got to be really focused, especially long stop motion movies. Like, I do not have the patience to even sit through TV shows, let alone a 30-minute stop motion where I've got to pay attention because every character sounds the same and I need to know what's going on. That's my one con with stop motions, but it is such a big part of AGTube culture that I don't think it's going away anytime soon. Plus, the people who make them and have the patience to like take a ton of photos, I am impressed with you. I could not do that. Kirsten shouldn't be hated on for being a blue-eyed blonde because she was the first blue-eyed blonde. I do agree in the sense that she's the original, so if any doll deserves to have bangs, blue eyes, blonde hair, it should be Kirsten. It's just a feature combination that we have seen so many times from American Girl. So even though she did it first, she's not the most unique American Girl doll out there. For the time when she was released, sure, she's the only blue-eyed blonde-haired doll you could buy, but nowadays there's so many. There's like 60, 22, 27, the older Truly Me's that look very similar to Kirsten, that it just doesn't make her as unique of a doll as she was back in like the 80s and possibly even the 90s. Now this one I've actually gotten a few comments about before, but Courtney and Mary Ellen look different, the eye color, and hair type. So I've never actually compared these two dolls side by side in person, so I can't really speak too much about that, but at least from far away or in photos, they look very similar to me. And even though there are differences, there are dolls that do look more alike in my opinion, like 22 and 27. In terms of the historical line overall, you have a doll like Addie, and she looks nothing like Kirsten, and you have a doll like Josefina, who looks nothing like Mary Grace. But then you have Courtney and Mary Ellen, and they're both available at the same time, but I have heard rumors Mary Ellen might retire. I don't know if that's true. And they just look so similar to each other when you compare them to any other doll in the historical line, or any other doll in the historical line looking similar to another doll, none like as similar as Mary Ellen and Courtney. So even though there are differences, the fact that Courtney also had to have side bangs and they're both classic molds in the same line, they just look too similar in my opinion. But I do know a lot of people think they look very different, so if you do want to own both, that is fine. I'm not going to dictate what dolls you have in your collection. I don't like the new World by Us leaks. So this is a bit more prevalent on AGIG, but I have seen a few YouTube videos talking about these leaks. I'll link one from a friend down below. I think the main thing people don't like is that the dolls appear to be wearing like makeup, but I'm actually not opposed to it because it makes them look like customs, and natural customs are my favorite. So the one with like the curly hair and the orange dress is the one that I'm actually considering adding to my collection. The doll with the dark skin has a slightly modified Nanea mold, and similar to her mold when it was first released, it just doesn't look like an American Girl doll to me, and I'm sure over time with seeing different angles and photos it will become more like normalized, but for now it kind of looks like a My Life doll. So I'm not the biggest fan of that one face mold wise, but I absolutely love her hair. And then the other one, I think her name was like Marzetta, I don't know, Marietta, something like that. I think seeing the Joss mold in another skin tone, but she might actually have light skin. It looks medium to me though. I think that's really cool, but she doesn't have any unique features that are like as unique as the other two dolls that we've seen leaks for so far in my opinion. So she kind of feels like she could pass as a Truly Me. I don't know her story yet or anything. Those are just my thoughts. I like the AG boy dolls. This is interesting as I feel like most people hate it. I mean, obviously they do because these are unpopular opinions. I do own a boy doll. I have 76. I won him in a giveaway, and I don't think if it were like my own money, I would have bought a boy doll on my own. It's definitely useful if you do like stop motions to have a guide character you can use. And the mouths don't bother me that much because I guess I'm so used to seeing them with closed mouths, but it's just hard for me because it's like, do I want to spend my money on boy doll clothing or girl doll clothing? And I have way more girl dolls, and I honestly don't use my boy doll as much as I should, but I do think it is useful if you do like stop motions and things like that and are too scared to customize your own boy doll. I really like Gabriella, and I don't get why many people aren't fans. I do own Gabriella, and I think as a doll she's nice if she wasn't a recycled Truly Me. I think the reason people kind of hate on her is more so just the production of her being the girl of the year, because it was originally supposed to be Tenny, but then they decide let's do a black girl of the year to please the community by recycling the doll. So the doll like already existed, so it wasn't anything new or cool, and a lot of her pieces are kind of similar to other pieces. Like the dance bar is similar to Isabel's, the loft bed is similar to McKenna's. So compared to other girl of the years like Grace, for example, where everything was unique, we never had really gotten baking sets like that before, Gabriella just felt kind of lazy, I guess, and reused. So I think that's why people don't like her as much. I'm not denying that she's a really pretty doll because I do own her, but I think just the whole process of making her girl of the year and her collection is why she's not liked as much. I'm just gonna let you guys know the most common unpopular opinions you guys said are that you don't like the Mary Grace mold, you think Tenny is not that bad, and I've seen quite a few being like Courtney's actually cute, but then people were like Courtney sucks. So I don't know what the whole consensus on Courtney actually is. The last one I'm gonna talk about is I like Gwen better than Krissa and Sonali, and this is really interesting because I think she's actually my least favorite of the three, and that's just because, as I've said a million times, I collect based on appearance of the dolls, and I'm looking for a doll that has a unique feature or a unique combination combination that would at least stand out in my collection. So I do own Krissa. I do not own Sonali, but at least at the time she was very unique. She introduced a whole Sonali mold. And I do own 49, who, I mean, they're different face molds. I own a lot of Sonali molds, so I don't really see myself getting Sonali anytime soon. Her wig is like 49's. But Gwen, to me, just feels like she could pass as a Truly Me doll. There is a Truly Me that looks very similar to Gwen. I'd love to see a comparison of them next to each other. Maybe story-wise, Gwen is better, but like she didn't even have her own book, so we can't really hear her point of view on anything. We just hear like what happens in Krissa's stories, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, that's just very interesting because I feel like everyone's always hyping up Krissa and Sonali, and nobody ever talks about Gwen. I often forget that she exists, but the fact that somebody actually prefers her over those two dolls is definitely an unpopular opinion, but it's super cool. So if you guys liked this video, give it a thumbs up. Comment down below some more unpopular opinions you guys have if you are comfortable sharing, and we can all reply to each other and maybe kind of have a few friendly debates about certain issues and topics in the AG community, such as Courtney looking like Mary Ellen. Make sure to subscribe to my channel and ring that bell so you are notified whenever I post a new video. And of course, have an amazing day, and I will see you guys soon with a new video. Bye!